want to welcome you to another episode of Stories of the Supernatural. Wherever you find us, whether it's a video or podcast on your favorite platform, please like and subscribe to us so that you can get notification of when a new show is released. You can also find us on major social media platforms. If you go to miamighostchronicles.com, you can find links to the videos or MP3 files, which you can download and enjoy without commercial interruptions. If you're into classic horror, ghost, and adventure stories, I narrate Nightshade Diary, and you can find links at nightshadediary.com. If scary stories are your bag, and listening to encounters with cryptids, ghosts, dogman, and other weird creatures sends a shiver up your spine, then go to supernaturalstorytime.com for links to our weekly podcasts. Noteworthy news about the paranormal world, true crime, conspiracy stories, and anything that is just plain weird can be found at eerie.news or visit the Stranger Than Fiction Stories tab at miamighostchronicles.com. Please subscribe to my newsletter on Substack. Just go to mppelliser.com for a link. I want to thank you for being part of my audience, and I think you are all wonderful. So, how's everybody doing? Good, I hope everything is good over here. Everything is good, crazy but good. As a matter of fact, I was thinking, we're down in the home stretch of Halloween. I got to pull out all my decorations that I hadn't done it. I said, you know what? I'm going to wait till October 1st, beginning of October. I'm going to do that because, this is my one woman war against that. I went to a very well-known, store, well, let's put it this way. Almost every store, they've already got Christmas stuff up. It's like, no, I refused. I'm going to celebrate all these things at the end of the year as they come along. It's Halloween time. And I don't want to talk about Christmas decorations, or even that. That's another thing. I went food shopping. What was it? A couple of days ago, and the freezer section. All of a sudden, this mountain of turkeys is already there, and it was like, wait a minute, hold on. We're in September. Come on, let's face it. Well, no, technically today, October. But what I'm saying is, it's like, oh man, it's like, no, I refuse to. I was looking at them, and it's like, nope, I'm not gonna buy into that. I'm gonna enjoy the fall season, the last 3 months of the year for what they're worth, that kind of deal. So yeah, that's my one person. I'm taking a stand on this. So I was looking up any weird whatchamacallit, news story. I swear to God, sometimes you can't get away from this, even if you try the UFO thing. It's like anything worthwhile goes in that direction. So this is, I'm going to show you something here. Hold it. Which is, has to do with, not only, well, UFOs like in the air, but of course UFOs under the water. Yeah, it happens, you know. Uh, let's see. Let me see if I can get you guys to see this. Yeah, here it is. Okay. And this is from, military divers claim they found an underwater UFO crash, but they spent decades sworn to secrecy. Here we go. Again, decades sworn to secrecy. All right. This is on the evening of October 4th, 1967. All right, we're talking here quite a long time. A group of teens near Canada's Shag Harbor noticed strange orange lights in the sky plummeting towards the Atlantic Ocean, hovering just above the water surface. They reported the incident to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, thinking it was a devastating plane crash. When the Coast Guard arrived at the scene, the only evidence of the unidentified anomalous phenomena was yellow foam in the water. Some witnesses thought the light sinking into the sea caused the strange material to appear. The next day, divers investigated the scene without any proof of aliens or even a pedestrian plane crash for that matter, which would make it seem like the case was cold. But when Chris Stiles, a longtime ufologist, began poking around 33 years later, eyewitnesses kept asking him the same question. You know about Shelburne, don't you? For most ufologists, the prospect of another anomalous incident would be like an early Christmas present. But for Stiles, it was more of a headache. He explained in an interview, um, on the podcast UFO Live show that he didn't want Shag Harbor to become another Roswell, the infamously confusing incident in the United States, which sparked a conspiracy theory among UFO proponents that recovered materials found in Roswell, New Mexico, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and he investigates, finds out that the Shelburne incident was a 1960s NATO minesweeping exercise off the coast of McNabb's Island. And these are two islands, two small islands off of Nova Scotia. All right. And again, this is apparently he wrote a book in 2023 talking about that actually the ones that went down there were Royal Canadian divers, and that what they found was a UFO sitting on the seabed. And apparently they that there was still activity. And in other words, this guy Stiles is doing all this research, obviously from this 1967 UFO crash, if that's what it was, um, and that I guess they were sworn to secrecy. All right, and they quote, this is what it says according to his book: "They ordered us to the surface and ordered us to forget what we'd seen," the divers said. Then the alarm sounded upon the command ship and panic broke out. And apparently he interviewed some witnesses on this. All right. Uh, and they said that, in other words, one of the, which I think, especially back in many years ago when people, even including Roswell with um, uh, Mac, Brazel, the one that was sworn to say, it was like they put the patriotism angle on it. Like, hey, we got, this is a national security situation. You got to keep quiet. And most people are, yeah, okay. So when a U.S. Navy officer suggested the divers should stop talking about the quote Soviet submarine they were investigating, implying the vessels the men had seen weren't extraterrestrial. So, okay, and then I'll let you guys. I'll put a link to this article out of Popular Mechanics, because it looks like this gentleman Stiles, last name was Stiles. He did, um, and also he makes a historical context of the time, stating that Betty and Barney Hill had yet to make their famous alien abduction claims and that space travel was still merely a science fiction dream. Okay, so in other words, these are different stories that are coming up now about what maybe were thought of as a plane crash, which nothing ever turned up, and or that it just goes away. I don't know if the newspapers are told, hey, drop that story. The people that actually were there as eyewitnesses, whether a diver or a pilot, they're told, be quiet, national security. And let's face it, most people, especially around that time, 60s, and I said either patriotism or you're smart enough to go, I'm one person. I can't go up against an entire government, whether it's the United States or Canada or whatever. And if you're being told that was a Russian submarine you saw, right? You're like, okay, let's face it, people had careers, families, things. So what do you think? All these things now are coming up, and are they real? Or is it somebody trying to sell a book? Or is it a well-kept secret? Uh, that again, this is the thing that puzzles me. When they go out to these areas, you have ships with lots of personnel on there. And maybe for a while they'll keep quiet, but I still don't understand how they can keep this under wraps when you sometimes have hundred of potential witnesses, and not the actual divers, but people that were on board. That, let's face it, stuff like that, it just circulates. The information goes around. Is that, did you hear? Did you see what? That they could keep it under wraps for so many years. I don't know. What do you think? Is it just made up for, like I said, to sell a book, or is there something there that, 67? How many years are we talking here? Almost 50 years later, that they've decided, oh, we'll let it go. Anyway, everybody involved in there is dead, pushing up daisies. So nobody can go back and check. Is this accurate? Is this story accurate? Is this what really happened or not? Because let's face it, and I'm not going, not that I'm conspiratorial, but even if they say, well, we can produce the files or whatever we kept, I hate to say it, files can be doctored. Anything that can be turned over and said, this is the reports that they wrote up back from 1967 or something, whatever. So short of actually talking to somebody that was there, I don't know. So anyway, food for thought. You can't get away from those UFOs, I'm telling you. Let's get on to the good part. The good part is who is the guest today at Stories of the Supernatural. His name is James Rink. He's been on the show before. He's a meditation practitioner, researcher, author, and video producer. He's part as a super soldier in a secret space program. He understands programming and trauma as explained in his online YouTube and later Rumble presence. His Super Soldier Talk series has helped awaken humanity to the secret activities of the covert government, uncovering topics such as brainwashing, trauma, milabs, which stands for military abductions, and covert harassment, all of which he has had to endure his entire life as a product of Project Surrogate and Ultra MK Milab Super Soldier experimentation. His book Lone Wolf chronicles these projects. He's the producer of Changes on the Horizon, an incredible 3-hour video documentary covering the truth about how the planet works, delving into banking, finance, constitutional law, and NASARA, which is the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. All right, help me welcome him. And he also has another guest, Maureen Downard. Help me welcome them to the show. How are you doing today, James?
Doing
And
great.
Melissa, how are you guys doing?
Well, hello, hello. Doing
Thanks for
fantastic.
inviting us.
Thanks. Nice meeting you here today. This is fantastic.
Likewise,
Thank you.
likewise. You know what? I'm not kidding. Every time I do a show, I look at the what's going on out there, like recent, and every time I look, it's something have to do UFO related. And again, you can't get away from it. Like, how much of it is it true? How much of it is not true? Why is it being disclosed now? I don't know. I guess I'm becoming cynical. How's that? So one of those things. Um, Let me ask you, James, what has been happening in super soldier world lately that you think that's either happening or coming up on the horizon?
Um, Thank you. So I'm guessing you're referring to the conference coming up
Yes.
October 8th to the 12th in Orlando, Florida. So
Hmm.
where my nonprofit is hosting. Hold on a second. My nonprofit is hosting the Super Soldier Activation Conference. So that's going to be to go to supersoldiercon.com. Now, we're expecting about 500 people to show up. There's over 4 days of activities. We got,
Okay.
I don't know, we're probably like close to 30 speakers now. We also have about 40 vendors. And so we're also going to do a little day trip to Universal on the Monday. So it's a great
Okay.
opportunity to come together. We've got parties going on every night. There's a huge pool. We'll have our meet and greet there. And we're going to do some UFO sky watching. So it's going to be a great event. I think everybody here is going to enjoy it. We have a day pass that's $20. You can come out for just for one day. And Melissa and I, we're going to have to talk about putting a limit on those passes. So if you would pre-order, thank you, because we may not be able to let you in otherwise.
Right,
'Cause,
right, right. Like, in other words, yeah,
Free
that
tickets
that
today. Yeah.
there's always, I hate to say it, there's always the procrastinators in the crowd, that wait till the last minute. So yeah, I totally understand, especially when you've got, you know, in other words, you've organized this for X amount of people. Maybe you could stretch it a little bit, but not at that last minute where people like say, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend? What do you think?" Then yeah,
I
absolutely.
know. We're
Yeah,
getting
there's
Thursday.
always
Everybody,
like,
come on in.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
It's especially when you're organizing. It's like an organizing event that you have to be. Well, I'm saying for you, you're behind the scenes working on all of this stuff. So I totally understand
Yes, and
what
also
that's like. Go
we're
ahead, Mo.
excited to share. Also, James brought to say we're actually having some healing rooms as well.
Okay,
Some so we have additional rooms with healing practitioners, information sessions, healings going on. So it's going to
okay,
be addition to at the vendings and the speakers. So we have a lot going on. I'm excited to be part of all
right.
that as well. And it's
Yes,
been just like you said, there's so much planning going on. James and I have been working hard to behind the scenes, bringing all the magic together, all the speakers, all the vendors with a full team, though, of course. They've been great.
sure.
So it's really exciting. It's getting really close now.
Let me tell
Very,
you something.
very
I think
close.
that's the those are the cons that I like. The ones that you got a presentation, but then you can wander around, and you could, you've got vendors, but then you've got stuff like you said, like the other people doing other things. So in other words, you could just like wander around and do all this different stuff. I think those are the best cons. And if
This
Yeah,
you're
one
going,
is exciting. it's reminding me back, I think 2018 or 2019. I'm Canadian, by the way, but I did go to Alien Expo in Toronto, and this is
Okay.
kind of revving me up and getting me excited for that. I actually
Hmm.
went with a friend, so we were a vendor, but I also got to see all the speakers as well. So it's getting like it's going to be just exciting environment. It's so much exciting, but
Right.
the concept behind it is that we're all coming together to talk about these topics and disclosure, but and be there to support one another. So it's just going to be incredible. I'm so
Networking. I
excited.
love the, oh, that's another thing that you network. So you meet people that you haven't met before, but you're all talking the same language kind of deal. Like, hey, we're talking the same thing, and but it's for networking. It's fantastic. It's excellent.
Yeah,
It's
and the fact that the being there as healers as well to help, like Ely, like James would say, super soldiers, in healingsouls.com, to heal the people who've gone through a lot of these programs, and I love this part is even James has done this, and I've done only a little bit, but through hypnosis,
hmm
a lot of people are being taken back to discover what's happened to them in this life, past life, whatever. So all this information can come through that, and through meditation. I direct meditation as well, but my friend Charlene, who's going to be also at the conference, she's a QHHT practitioner and BHT or BQH practitioner. So
hmm
this is gonna be actually going on as well for people if they're interested in, a little bit of fun hypnosis, and to go in and let's discover what have you experienced in this life, past life, parallel lives. The concept is so huge with something
Well,
like
I,
this.
I,
It's
I I
it's
was
it's,
a
it's so exciting.
hypnotherapist. I had a hypnotherapy practice for many years, and it's really good because people sometimes they get the wrong idea of how hypnosis works. They think they're going to get, I don't know, transported to an alternate universe. So
No, I
yeah,
know. Yeah,
age, age
it's easy.
regression. If you want to go past life regression, there's a lot of it. There's a lot of benefits to hypnosis. Okay, um, especially, and I'm going to talk. Sometimes we get what we'll call them messages or programming, even from just like your regular advertising and commercial
Yeah.
and hypnosis. Like, I mean, there's suggestions that you can give as far as like closing down your subconscious so that you don't take in all these negative information. How's that? Because where sometimes people don't realize, certain beats and high anxiety will put you into a hypnotic state. People think that you're hypnotized, you're walking around with your eyes closed. No, you can have your eyes very wide open and be hypnotized, for lack of a better word. And when you are, you're taking in information, even if it's negative stuff. All right.
Mhm.
So yeah, hypnosis is really good. That, let me tell you something. That in and of itself is great. That's
It
excellent.
is. And but on the flip side about not so it's I guess the ease of hypnosis, I love to share this because this was a big one I was learning it.
Hmm.
It can be very deep or something just as relaxing like
Sure.
meditation where people would say, okay, what's it feel like to go into hypnosis? Like
Oh yeah,
close
no,
your
they
eyes and
they,
count
they
to
think that.
five. And they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I say, okay, open your eyes. And I go, that's what it feels like in
Yeah,
hypnosis. Just so you don't like you can go as deep really as you want in the beginning, but it's you
sure.
just know that
But people,
it's not
people,
it's
they kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. They make up these ideas in their head about when they're hypnotized. Like, am I going to be vomiting my deep darkest secrets, or where are you taking me to another dimension? It's like, no, you're not going anywhere. And as a matter of fact, you're going to be entirely aware, just really relaxed. But yes, I would have to overcome that a lot of times with my first time clients because they were like ready to bolt. At one time I had a guy, he had a like a broken leg, and he had a taxi drop him off. But I see that taxi driver following him up to the door of the office, and I'm like, okay. And then I see the guy, because I had a very small office, and I had like one chair like besides where the client, and I looked at the guy. I said, the taxi driver goes, no, I'm gonna ask him to stay here with me. I go, what? And he went. I said, well, that's fine, but confidentiality. I'm sorry. Usually whatever we talk about is under confidentiality. But if you're bringing him in, that's, and by the way, the fair was running. That's how wigged out he was. I was like, what does this guy think I'm going to do with him? You know?
you felt
And
the
he
safety. Yeah.
and this poor man, this poor taxi driver, you see him, and he's another one. You could tell he's looking at me like, like out of the side of his eye, like, what lady, what are you going to do? And it was like, don't worry, just sit there. It's okay. Because I had benches outside, but no, he wanted the guy in the office. So, yes, I know some people get a little bit paranoid until they realize that it's just a really deep state of relaxation. But yeah, I've had my
Yes, and
experiences
even
with that.
yeah, taking people yeah, like even I've had this conversation with other these Charlene practitioners when someone is so new to the experience as well, like
Hmm.
they might not be relaxed enough to go open up and go deep. But once,
Yeah,
like for me, I was with meditation, I was very open and visual, so I could go on an adventure
sure.
within an instant. So it's yeah,
Okay.
you're right. It's like taking that page, that client to a really relaxed state and
Yes.
reassuring them that it's going to
And
be a
realizing that,
safe
you're
environment.
not gonna forget, you're not gonna be doing or saying things and you won't remember, because I think some people think that they're
Yeah,
gonna be going and they'll be back and they'll say, "What did I say?" And it's like, "No, you're there. You're gonna know what you're doing and saying or seeing, or, there's nothing secretive about any of it." But,
yes,
yes,
it's
as far
holding.
as a
Yeah,
tool, absolutely.
yep.
It's very good for either with age regression, for hidden memories, whether it's the present life, abduction scenarios, or even past life, whatever the case might be. Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
this is so that we get to bring this to the
Oh, that's
event.
great. Let
It's
me tell
fun
you
for us
something.
to
That's
do.
a big.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you. I wanted to ask James about this because I had gone on your website, and I looked at this, and the reason why it caught my attention is I saw that you interviewed Jimmy Paine and you were talking about Jeepers Creepers. And let me tell you something. Personally, I'm a horror film. I like it. I'm not too much into. You would think the like the all the slasher films are just too much slash. Like even the Friday the 13th, even those old ones. I was like, eh. But Jeepers Creepers has been the one character that really wakes me out. I guess because maybe he just never goes away. You can't kill him.
Yeah.
He's like, it's like, my God, there's no way of getting rid of this guy. He even gets harpooned. What can you tell me about that, James, as far as the creeper or the Jeepers Creeper phenomena?
Absolutely. So Jimmy Paine is a Men in Black agent who was stationed at Creech Air Force Base, amongst other facilities, in the 1960s. He was in the Vietnam War. He was also sent back in time to the Civil War, where he got to meet Jefferson Davis, and I did a report on that on Richmond, Virginia. He's also been to the future. He talks about nuclear bombs going down and all this stuff. But so I think he's seen like a variety of parallel realities. Now,
Hmm.
as far as the Jeeper Creeper is concerned, so the reason why we have a Men in Black is to protect people from situations like this. Now, you might be aware there's over 450 Sage radar towers built within, I believe that's the U.S. So we have, so they found that if you could run certain frequencies, you could not only do mind control, but you could open up a portal. So it was Thomasville Air Force Station in Thomasville, Alabama, that conducted um opened up a portal into the Bermuda Triangle. And it was believed that this creature had come through and was eating sailors, and a lot of people were going missing. We have stories of Amelia. Well, that wasn't the Bermuda Triangle, but the stories of missing pilots, missing planes, ships, no crew on them. So, okay, the story begins in Rainbow Springs State Park, just north of Orlando. I think it's between Orlando and Ocala, near the
I
kind
know,
of.
I know. You know what? I'm very close to that part. Keep going.
Okay, yes, and so this creature came through the portal, and it was attracted to the underground caverns there, where it's ground temperature hovers around 72 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
So it was a very comfortable environment. Now, um, there was a certain Men in Black agent, a young kid. He was training, and he was the way Jimmy described the story. He was going home from school, so this was like a chance encounter. It wasn't. So that's how the report began. But maybe Jimmy can explain that a little bit better. But he was going down the road with his friend there in the car, and then next thing you know, there's this old 1940s ambulance pulling up, driving like crazy, honking the horn, and they're like, who is this? And they swerve out of the way, and the guy passes him, right? So these old ambulances from the 1940s very well built, and they could easily overtake a car. So, and then they passed by this old church, and the film showed the actual church where this creature was buried its bodies. So back before we had air conditioning, right, or safety shelters, many homes in Florida would have a storm shelter. So it was just a tube that would go underground, a chute where they, and of course it was cooler too. You could store food down there. And this particular creature was collecting bodies, in particular body parts, to assimilate onto itself. So some kind of a Draco reptilian creature. Now, when the kid went down there and investigated, well, I say kid, well, he was like a teenager, right? He's in his 20s. But when he goes down there and investigates, he finds all these different body parts, and they found, when they went in there, the MIB went in there, they found some bodies with wooden teeth. So I didn't look it up. When did they stop using wooden teeth and dental? Does anybody know?
Good question.
Using
I know.
wooden
You know what? When did
in
they?
dental care. So that one doesn't give you a particular date, but it says by the time of the 20th century, so around 1900. Okay, so now again, this took place in the 1960s. So
Yeah, they're
no,
saying
hold on
early
a second.
20th century.
It was
Yeah.
1971 when it took place. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, 19th century. Now, the belief is as this creature could time travel. It was going
Mhm.
back, and probably was going into the future as well, pulling up bodies.
Okay.
So he reports back to base, and this creature is following him. I think they go to, in the movie, they show this scene where the cat lady, the crazy cat lady of all the cats in the house. So that actually happened next. So they got the order wrong. And the cat lady, there was an encounter there. I think the creature killed the cat lady. So, and then they were on the run. So they drove all the way out to Area 51 when they went to the diner, which was
Okay.
actually a front for the MIB. So they had a lot of MIB agents there. So the so-called sheriff was actually MIB, and they were going out and continuing the investigation. And that's when they had the final scene with when they running the bean over of a car. Okay, so I think the second movie is when they were they had, was it the first one? Okay, the last scene takes us to a prison, right? And
Let me ask you something. Is there any truth? You remember how in the first movie, and again, I don't know if this was Hollywood or where supposedly this thing can find you because once it has your scent,
Yeah,
it can track you down.
yeah.
Like in other
Jimmy
words,
said its reflexes was incredibly fast. There's a scene when they're in the prison, right? The jail cell. So that was actually at the base of Area 51. And they found that this bean could just rip through the bars, got in, and then the movie they showed the psychic. So that psychic lady was real, and they were giving information. Yeah, but they said the bean could like walk upside down. It was so fast it could immediately grab into you, pull your heart out, and it would just be so fast you wouldn't even blink. So and then it did that, and it would eat hearts, right?
oh
So
my God.
they found
Okay.
this creature was incredibly powerful, and even though they didn't really have any defenses, even though they're supposedly
And let me ask you that
black.
thing about the movie where it would go like dormant for X amount of years. Is there any truth to that, or was that just Hollywood?
I think it's not. I don't think that it's going dormant. I believe it is time traveling.
Oh, okay. I understand now. Okay.
Yeah. So, all right, and then the second movie, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, okay. Wait, hold on a second. The creature, is like attracted to the main character, the 20-year-old man, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like he's the one that he smells something
Yeah.
about him, and
Yeah. So he's carried away, and that's it. The creature runs away. So, but then there was other sightings coming up. So the next sighting was at Jeepers Creepers 2. There was the school bus scene.
Right.
They knew that this creature was out and about. There was security protecting the kids coming back and forth at this base. And Jimmy says he was on the bus when this thing attacked, and it was going by one. So in that final scene, they used a harpoon gun. So I mean,
Right, there was
I
that
just skipped like
farmer who
90
was out for
minutes.
him.
Yeah,
No, right. There was that one thing where, um, yeah, that he becomes the basis for the number 3 where he's hunting it with that harpoon gun, and, that's at, like, towards the end. I
yeah.
think because they
Oh,
had taken one of his kids or something like that, yeah.
okay. Yeah. So the harpoon gun was mounted on the pickup truck,
Mhm.
and they were successful at shooting it. And then didn't he chop his head off or something? I can't remember.
Well, yeah,
Burn the
there was
body.
one on the bus, when they're on the bus and basically it inserts another head and it goes
Yeah.
and, like
Okay. I asked Jimmy about that. He said that didn't happen. He said
okay,
that the creature, its reflexes were so strong, it could just go in there and go into the brain, pull it out if it wanted to.
right.
But it wasn't absorbing. So that part was fiction. Yeah. So
Right,
it's a
which
great
when
movie,
you were
Melissa.
saying, well, it uses the body parts, but it was like, in other words, this thing was like, I'm gonna use real, and this is like an analogy, even though you said it wasn't real. Like how you see lizards that they can, or certain reptiles that they can regenerate,
Yep.
lost either a tail or something, and you had referenced earlier something like a connection to Draco's. That's why I was asking. Okay, was this part of its
Makes sense.
ability to like take a body part and like all right, stick it on there and regenerate kind of deal? But you're telling me that was a Hollywood thing.
Yes, it was doing that. Yeah,
Okay.
but the head part it wasn't doing.
That which
Okay,
basically
we're
is
gonna.
a concept why you couldn't kill it because it would find some way to stick on spare
Rejuvenate.
parts.
Yeah, yeah. They just said
Now,
they
is there?
did. The wing actually did go in the school bus, and he said it felt like leather, like a thick leather, and
Okay.
yeah. So of course in the last scene, the kids all run out, and the bean is decapitated, I believe, and then yeah. Okay, well that's a great movie. So
No, let me tell you
Yeah, I
something.
didn't
That
see it
that
yet.
that
I got to see it. I guess it's
you
creepy.
haven't seen it, Melissa? You haven't seen the
No,
Jeepers?
is there a third movie too, or just 1 and 2?
They had 3. They had the first one, which was the
They did.
introduction, and the
Okay.
second one, what he was talking about, where some kids get, like I think it's like a football team on the
school
school bus,
bus, yeah.
and then where one of the farmers is hunting it. And I think the third one is he harpoons it and he sticks it in his barn. But this thing had, according to the story Hollywood version, it would go dormant. I think it was 21 years. Where he had it hung up in his
Time
barn, but
travel.
basically it wasn't dead. It was just that it would go to this dormancy. As a matter of fact, in the first story, they start realizing this when they found all these bodies in its cavern. They realized that some of the victims, they kind of figured out, like they were looking at the way they were dressed, and because it kind of like was doing like a wallpaper of bodies kind of deal, that they
Jesus.
basically pertain
Maybe I don't
to
want to.
murders and disappearances dating back X amount of years.
Is
Yeah.
yeah,
So
it would go back like 200 years.
yeah, right. It
And
was
a
like
lot of people lost their lives. And this was just one creature. And we were commenting on the show. Imagine if a whole group of these creatures suddenly show up in our dimension. It would easily wipe out our entire population.
let me ask you,
Yeah.
do you think, now that we're talking Hollywood, do you think, remember the first Predator movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger? Do you think there's any truth to that type of creature?
Yes, Jimmy
Probably.
said that those beings are real. Uh, I think there's the Predator movie that was based in the Native American times. I forgot which one was that.
Prey,
Prey.
that's the last one that
Prey.
came out. Prey, that's
Prey.
Prey,
Yeah,
which is the same creature that basically they're the ultra hunters kind of thing,
yeah,
and they just parachute, or well, not parachute, but come to different planets trying to prove that who can win the fight.
yeah. So that's
Yes.
real. Yes, and he's encountered one, and I think he said he was in Cambodia where it happened.
Okay.
In the movie, it might have showed I don't know some Vietnam or something like that. But so yeah, those beings are real, and the movie is a lot of it's truthful. Another movie that's we haven't done a video on is Rambo. One of his code names was Rumble, so John Rumble, but they just changed
Okay.
Rambo. So
Right.
the
Okay.
whole thing
They
about him
kind of
shooting up a town in British Columbia that was true.
okay.
Um, let's see here.
Okay.
I could talk a little about
Looking.
xenomorphs.
Sure.
Okay, so
That absolutely. That's another scary thing there, right there. Yeah, that'll do
yeah,
it.
okay. All right, so what was it? Wayland Utami Corporation. So
Okay.
Jimmy Paine personally knows who Wayland is, who founded Wayland Corporation. Of course, I don't think he's been born yet, or he may have just been born. But in the future, through time travel, they go in the future. There's something called the Colonial Marines and Wayland Corporation,
Mm-hmm.
and they get these coordinates from the Greys, the Zeta Reticuli, star map showing them, don't go over here. It's 150 light years behind Zeta Reticuli. This area is quarantine off limits. So what do? They set up a colony in Hadley's Hope, and next thing you know, the xenomorphs are hatching and hatching out of the people. So then they get on the ship, right? Isn't there a scene where I can't remember? Maybe I'm mixing up which movie series, which one? But so he said that they are extremely aggressive. They are fast, but what they're not is they can't tolerate cold temperatures. They like Hadley's Hope had a lot of volcanic activity. They like to be along really hot, dry temperatures.
Okay.
So they're not going to be crawling around outside the ship hull at the minus negative 25 degrees, whatever it is,
Okay.
Celsius, Kelvin, I don't know what they call it. But but
Let me ask you something. Let's say the xenomorphs. Did they come here to Earth, or I don't know if you remember in the Alien, the #3 movie, even from the first movie, the corporation that basically is running this thing, they're desperate to get this life form back to Earth, because even though it's basically looked like it could, like you said, wipe out humanity, was that a question that it ended up here because it was brought here, or did they come here on their own?
I don't think they're going to come here on their own. They're a very parasitic race. Okay. So typically parasitic species don't really innovate very much. They just consume. There's no need to innovate when you can consume, right? Okay. So, but as far as other movies concerned about the xenomorphs being brought back, I can't comment about that. But the plots and all that, a lot of it is based on truth. He knew who played Sigourney Weaver. What was her character name?
Ellen Ripley. You mean the character?
Yeah, the character on the ship. What was her character?
Ellen Ripley.
Ripley, that's it. Yeah, he said Ripley worked for the company and she was a traitor. He said that her cat Jones's was actually a gremlin. They were having fun times together. Okay. And there was the android that had white blood. That was real. Yes. That whole story about them bringing it was. I think he said the xenomorph was inside him, and he was in stasis. They were trying to bring it back. So anyway, now these plots were redacted, and of course it was time travel back and handed to Senator Robert Byrd's office in West Virginia. Oh wow! And from there, it was sold to Hollywood. I think it was sold for $100,000. Okay, that's all they made on these stories. So
right, and it's so fantastical. Who's going to think there's any reality to it? It's like, oh man, somebody was. That's a great story. That's right. Yeah, sure.
Sounds like a creature from Star Trek: Strange New Worlds called the Gorn. Like they just come in and they attack.
Yeah, Jimmy said that's real too. Yeah, yeah.
So,
by the way, Star Trek
Gorn.
Yes. So one of his co-names was Captain Jim Paine. So it wasn't Jim Kirk. And the actual Enterprise was built by Vulcans, and Uhura was not Black Lady; she was a Vulcan, so it was Spock. And then Spock had his niece on board the craft, where he had a relationship with his niece. But Vulcans are about 4 feet tall. They are unemotional, unless they're frisky, and then they have a high metabolism. So there was that story where they went to San Francisco back in time, and he raided one of the vending machines. So they love chocolate bars and candy. Okay, I won't tell that story. Let's see here. Yeah, so it was. So he was on loan from Area 51 with the Federation, and he got to serve. But a star captain's really doesn't have a lot of free time. It's not a fun it's not really fun to be on the. You got 20-hour shifts,
Wow.
especially if you're a cat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it makes you wonder, how many of these storylines that you see in these shows, which are supposedly strictly science fiction, or the invention of somebody's, how
The
much sometimes they have truth. Go ahead.
Yeah, the years ago, probably, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, we're longer from the Orion Wars
Hmm.
that were Orion Wars, the
Okay.
Lyrans and all that stuff, and a lot of, and
Hmm.
so much going on. But that they got Star Wars is said to be channeled from the Orion Wars.
Let me answer.
That's
So,
just
what are you saying that what? And I'm going to ask this to be specific because I know that sometimes writers take ideas from other people.
I've
That Gene
heard,
Roddenberry, that it was a channeled
I've
story.
heard a few
Or,
different things. They've been in rooms with channelers or even other beings. I've heard, mind you,
Mhm.
different theories. But yeah, go ahead, James. What
Yeah,
theories have you heard?
Yes, thank you. So the story was given to Gene Roddenberry. I guess at that time it was Desert
Right.
Studios, and
Mhm.
a lot of it was redacted, so that's why he filled in what he could. But yeah, as far as so basically it's all they were supposed to, all the actors in the movie were supposed to get 2% of gross.
Right.
So I believe the Star Trek the franchise has made over $2 billion. So a lot of money is owed to a lot of actors. But what happened is they came in there, the MIB came in there, wiped the memory of everybody, and yeah. So Paramount was able to keep a larger share.
Wow.
So Sulu and Chekhov and nobody got nothing.
Check. Let's see here. So
Well, you know what?
He would have been
I mean,
Vulcan, most likely.
really?
Now Scotty was from Scotland. They just nicknamed him Scotty. That wasn't actually his
Right.
first name, right? But I can't comment about Chekhov, but I can tell you that they weren't rescuing whales. Star Trek, I think it's 4.
Yeah, I know that there was one where I remember that part. Yes.
It was the Loch Ness. So she was
Really?
pregnant.
Oh,
They don't know how she got pregnant, but the baby was the size of a Volkswagen.
Okay.
So they had to build a special container hold to get this thing and to get it back with its family.
Okay.
And don't ask me, I have no idea I got pregnant, but so it got back to
Hey,
its
man.
family. Yeah,
In Jurassic Park, life finds a way. That kind of. I don't know. I'm just making
there's
stuff.
probably a guy down there somewhere, inner Earth. But
yeah.
so yeah, so he said that when they lifted that craft up, that they were all like worried for their dear lives because that poor craft was about ready to tear apart getting out of the atmosphere.
Okay.
But they did, and they got it home, got her and the baby home. So
Okay.
he said that when he would go to the cargo hold, the baby would splash water on him. He was trying to be funny, and he said it was really cute. And
Let me ask you.
Fascinating.
How's this? Was Loch Ness originally an is it a dinosaur, like an actual Earth
plesiosaur,
animal,
right?
or was it something? Yeah, plesiosaur, or was it an interdimensional thing that came through a portal when it shouldn't have? How's that? Did they ever explain? Like, is it
No, I didn't
a
ask.
whole?
That's a good question. It's probably could be interdimensional. Maybe got locked out of its portal.
Right.
Maybe there's giant caverns deep within the earth.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's what I had heard, that Loch Ness does have some type of tunnels or something that leads out to the open Atlantic. That's what I heard.
But it's not necessarily. It's not the Atlantic. It's okay. All right. So on the surface level, we're aware that about 80% of the surface is water or ocean,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Now, what they're not telling you is that below ground, there are massive caverns, say tunnels, but caverns. So only 1/3 of the water that's on the surface is the reflective of its size. There's another 70% more water that we're not being told about. And there's
Okay.
creatures down there. Of course, the dolphins go back and forth, right? Portaling, whales, but there's other aquatic, even like sentient life forms down there. So
Okay.
much of that has not been explored, or has been, but they just don't want to let you know.
Sure.
And you can technically go in some of these channels. You can go underneath California and come out on the Atlantic coast. So you can go under the continents. Yeah, and so I
Do
think
you
there's a
think
lot of
there's any truth then to, I'm sure you've heard of people saying like, the megalodon, which was a huge prehistoric shark that they went extinct, but then there's other rumors that know that they're still around, but since technically they were very, very deep sea sharks, that's why we haven't seen them, but they do still exist, but they normally just exist very, very deep underwater. Which is also what was happening, I believe, with the supersized squids that finally did find one. They were able to, that sailors kept saying for decades, oh, there's this huge monster squid, and everybody was saying, oh, these sailors telling all those tall tales. Turns out, I believe, like maybe 5 or 6 years ago,
Mhm.
they were finally able to find one. It's just that because they exist so deep in the ocean, that is like, yeah, you're not gonna see this. In other words, it's not like, how sometimes these fishermen, they bring things up in their net and everybody's like, what is this? But nobody's fishing that deep is my point.
Yeah,
So it makes me wonder, what supposedly extinct animals or dinosaurs or whatever
yeah,
are
yeah.
there.
Can I share my screen?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
I want to
I'd
I
love
want
to
to show you
talk about the
something.
dragons too, guys. The
Okay,
dragons.
welcome back. Okay, I want to share. Oh, it doesn't let you. Doesn't show you what I'm picking. Okay, let me try it this way. It's been a while
Oh,
since I've done. Oh my
StreamYard.
God. I just wanted to share a map of Scotland, but it was.
Can you share the screen there, Marlene?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that I was gonna tell you, map of Scotland.
yeah, I want to show you something here. There's something I find this really interesting.
Okay, is there anything in particular
Yeah,
or
well, Loch Ness is right where this spot is.
okay,
So
hold on,
if it
hold on,
lets me,
hold on. Not
um,
Scotland.
okay.
All right, images. Okay. Were you looking for an aerial view or just Loch Ness?
Yes, go. Yeah, do an aerial. I want to show you something.
Cool. Okay.
All right, let me see. All right. Uh-huh. All right. Okay, I don't want that with little scribbly things on it. Let's go with this. There. Oh, come on.
Maybe I might be able to pull it up.
Okay.
Um,
It's just that a lot of these.
okay, well, it doesn't really matter.
Nah, wait. Hold
You
on.
did it.
No, I. You know what? This is Let me see if I can bring it up. I would like to try to get it bigger, but let me see if I can. Um, there you go. Okay, hold on. Hold on. I want to get it bigger than this. Hold on. I hate when it does this. Hold on. Did it just pop out?
Okay,
Hold
I
on.
got it. I
You
got
got
it.
it? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
the StreamYard, it always does this. It's
I
like,
know it gets squirrely with that
yeah,
thing.
add it in. Add in. Okay, take a look at this map here. Now,
Where
according
is it?
to, can you
Let me
add
see.
it?
Hold on. Let me see. Hold on. Here we
Oh,
Can
go.
you add it?
Wait a
Do you
something's
minute.
see it
coming.
now?
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, we got it.
Okay, great. So, according to ancient tradition, Ireland, Scotland are colonies of Atlantis. So,
Okay.
the original, before we fell from 5D to 3D at the last cataclysm, we had fairies, elves, gnomes, and all sorts of creatures interacting with humans. Of course, the giants. Now, if we look at Scotland here, there is a line that goes straight through. Now, this is not natural. If we look at this line going
Okay.
right through, this is a laser beam. So this
All
is a
right.
laser or energy weapon, straight line, 71 miles. And of course, there's Loch Ness. So, what I'm trying to tell you here is that something cut into inner Earth to get access to those inner tunnels, the caverns deep underground. And that's
Okay.
where these creatures are able to come up, where it's a lot
Okay.
thinner, veil. So, anyway, I thought I would like to share that.
That's very interesting. I
Well,
didn't
thank
know
you.
that
Yeah.
about that. That's a very straight line
Yeah,
for it
there's
not.
no way. Yeah, there's no way that this is natural. What are you
Yeah, it
picking up,
doesn't.
Melissa?
Oh, that's fascinating. And yeah, when you say it, that's like, yeah, I feel it. Yeah.
It
That's
doesn't look.
incredible.
Maybe this was one of the attacks during the time of Atlantis. You know, still
And
Let
remaining.
me ask you something. Just and I know this is a and Melissa, you could chime in on this. Do you think it's coincidental that Aleister Crowley decided to live in for a couple of years in that house that's right on the banks of the Loch Ness? Was there some type of spiritual or something interdimensional that he was picking up on that's why he
Mhm.
decided to do his, do his some of his magic out there? Or was it just strictly
what,
because that's
what I was thinking when Jess James had gone to this spot in Ireland, okay, I was actually
Mhm.
on ancestry.ca the other day chatting about, where we all come from and about these resets and stuff we've been through. And it's
Right.
funny, just when James had said, this is the area to the left of, Atlantis, and we went to 3D, 5D to 3D. And kind of everybody, we started civilization from there and came over that. So I'm just putting all those pieces together. It makes all sense for me
Okay.
now. This area,
Yeah.
this part of the land. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
All right. Well, pull that up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fascinating on that part.
Yeah. Thank you. Certainly.
So let me ask you something. Do you think Tolkien was also channeling something then when he wrote all his like Hobbit
I think it's another
stories?
timeline. Yeah. I mean, I think Penny Bradley even commented a lot of kids were popping out of the portal that they were opening at Montauk, and they were going to fairy and elf timelines and all sorts
Mm-hmm.
of trolls. And it's actually pretty nice there in the what they call Fatum. So as far as them being existing now, I think maybe in the long distance past, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So we had Atlantis, Lemuria, Mu,
Yes.
Pan, and then finally Avalon. So it could have been, humans have been on this planet for a very long time. But
Right, because they have that Glastonbury tour, the one in England where they say that was like the original King Arthur site. There was a mystical thing about that hill, the Glastonbury tour, having to do with Camelot and all that.
yeah, that's a good point. I like to do some more research on that. So
But
yeah,
yeah, there's a lot of these sites that how's this? They hold special significance, but nobody can. It's been so long, sometimes hundreds or thousands of years, that the actual reason, just like Stonehenge and other places around the world,
hmm.
that they've lost the original how these ancient people knew the significance of these places to begin with. How's that?
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
So
it's still important. Yeah, beings that still know of the importance, but just the main public, we don't know. They don't know
exactly,
everything. Yeah.
exactly that we don't that they've been around for so long, and you think, well, why did these very early ancient civilizations, sometimes thousands of years, that they specifically pick certain sites to whatever, like let's say when they built Stonehenge or other places around the world, that
The
why did they
leylands,
pick
the
that?
ley lines, the vortexes.
The
Yeah.
ley lines, the ley lines.
All
Yes,
the, yep.
absolutely. Like,
They,
what did they
all the
know or
important
who
sites. Yep. I
let me
believe
ask you.
certain, yeah, thousands to millions of years they've been known.
Yes,
And I believe, all these
yes.
sacred sites have been built on top, built on top, built on
Right, that they
top.
keep
And,
building, like
and
whoever's
they,
the last civilization in town goes and
yep.
builds their version or takes over the building or does something, but for
Just
some reason
and
they
it,
keep using that piece of land, in other
it was
words.
Yep.
always usually right around 1871, 1874. A lot of these historical buildings were founded, and
Yep.
so that you go look at these ancient structures, these churches, these government centers,
Yes.
and there's no pictures of it being built. I mean, there's pictures of it being renovated, but they never say it's built. They say it's founded. So that's the
Yep.
key.
That's interesting. That's a very okay, yeah, I
It
see
is.
what you mean.
I love these buildings. I go downtown Toronto, and actually every city and town has a main street and a mill street, have these particular buildings, cathedrals, churches, red brick built, whatever they are. And
Right.
my mind, I see them right away. Every time I go to, like, they're there. And it's amazing. It's fascinating.
Right.
I would love to, I would love to go on
Yeah,
a tour of these places and, like, just dive deep because I love it. Yeah.
right. I mean, how's this? So some people that are just, let's say, like doing, even if you live in the city, it's like, or a tourist thing and you never get it. But then there's certain places that there's a significance to them. How's that? There's a significance to them beyond what just the architecture, perhaps, or historical. There's a reason why they were built at that particular spot. And that's the question you have to ask yourself, like, what is it?
It
Yeah.
was. It would have been. We've gone through numerous resets. The ley lines have all shifted at every reset. So these structures were like Earth batteries, but they would only work if we were in a certain position. Sorry, geo. I say spatial. I'm sorry, astronomical position, right? So that's why. Um, what was it? Stonehenge. Stonehenge
Mhm.
was a portal, but it doesn't work anymore because the planet axis have all shifted.
Right.
So
Well, let me
And
ask you, what do you think about the magnetic poles shifting that they've said that some of them that's even why some of the GPSs don't work used to or
they
the
have to
GPS
reset them.
programs, right, right. Like that some of them are a little bit off because the movement of the magnetic poles. And do you think there's a
mm,
how's this? Do you really think that at some point they might flip-flop? Like that they were
uh,
saying that they
okay,
invert?
so there's two giant motherships, north south pole. There's a lot of
Okay.
you're getting a lot of extraterrestrial help. Now, certainly they could just let us flip, and we'll get
Right.
reset again. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I think humanity has a lot of light workers, star seeds have
Okay.
come to this planet, indigos, crystals, and we've come here to help raise the consciousness so that way the ETs would want to save it, right? But
Okay.
if we didn't all sign up and come here in this in these waves, as the Lord can calls it, right, we would have had a pulse jet. I believe it was back in 2011 was when they described it happening. So
Is
yes,
that why they don't let anybody to the and up into the Antarctic ocean,
Oh, there's
area?
way more than that. There's way more than two reasons. Yeah, that
yeah,
goes deep. That one. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
what
have
this
to
stuff
go.
that's going on and has been for millions of years. Yeah.
like
Yeah,
they
well,
don't want
there's a
anybody up there. Nobody.
so we have like pre-Adamites. There's ancient Atlantean technology that flash freezed under the ice. There's volcanic chambers that are warm. I mean, it's not going to be as nice as, of course, the mountains of North Carolina, but there are a lot of Germans that settled down there
Mhm.
during World War II, and they still there. I mean, I don't know how many millions of people are down there now. Probably 400,000, but of
Okay.
course, that's where they launched into many of the breakaways. One of the places they launched into.
So do you think then that's why they're so because from what I understand that you cannot fly over it, you cannot approach it on a boat. I mean, nobody from nobody, I don't care what country you're coming from, you cannot access that area. You just can't like, hey, I think I'll take a trip to the Antarctic. It's not happening.
Yeah,
And you've asked,
everything in Antarctica has been restricted ever
yes.
since Operation Deep Freeze 1 and 2. So the original territory was all claimed by the Germans, and then
Okay.
when the Americans wanted to kick butt in the with Admiral Byrd, I think that was 48, 47.
Hmm.
I remember the exact year on that. But yeah, we found that they're way more technologically advanced, and we're not going to be able to defeat them. So we decided to join them, and we set up a treaty, and then people are trafficked off world into the German breakaways to build out the bases, and of course technology. The cabal always wants technology, but they're not supposed to get it. They're going to get theory. Of course, there's been a war battles with that, like what was it in 1978? One of the Antarctic Germans flipped, and they gave the memory eraser technology
Okay.
to the Americans or to the cabal. And so what happened is um, there was a Challenger explosion, and then they mailed a working unit to all the different cabal countries, and then we had the issue with Chernobyl. We
Right.
they put golf balls down the vents. So I'm trying to remember what that one was about. That was '86. Yeah, it's been
Right.
a
I
long
remember.
day. I've been trying to get this conference off the ground, but
No, I know. It's let
I
me
can
ask
pull
you,
it up my notes and what happened in Chernobyl. But
you know what? And as a hypnotherapist and Melissa, you can understand my question. When they did, like the Men in Black thing, what they talk about the memory erasure. Is it erasing it or is it submerging it? And the reason why I say this is erasing something that's it, it's not coming back. Whereas if you're submerging memory very deep, but it's still there, which is I sometimes think that's why you have people that have recall about certain things at the weirdest moments, and it's because that memory's never really been erased. It's just been buried very deep, but buried.
Brainwash.
It's still there. What do you think about that, Melissa? Do you think that that's the way they've been doing as far as memory for people
When
seeing what they shouldn't?
James would know more about that, but now when I think about it, what we understand about knowledge, information, the quantum field, the ether, the Akashic records, all this is
Right,
here. Um,
right.
so to a person understanding, I've gone through many past life regressions and future regression, a few really cool things coming up. So it's there to be accessed when you
Okay,
go in, when you're taken in, even through meditation, um,
right.
going back into past memories and healing, literally healing things back then. It's almost like I've done some healing meditation with something like self hypnosis. You've gone back and you've subconscious has opened up what the past hurt was,
Yes.
and you
Mm-hmm.
can go back in and say, how would you like that to be fixed? And so I actually have a new memory of an incident that was hurtful in my past, where I think about it now. It's like I have the brand new one, and it's healed. The image is clear, the image is healed, and the image
Right.
is free. So
Right. That
it's
emotion that you had there, which normally is bad emotion, is like,
it's
everybody has
healed.
memories, but and I
Yeah.
tell everybody, everybody has certain things that happen to you throughout your life. Some are very hurtful at the right at the beginning, but then as time goes by, there comes a point that you haven't forgotten it, but when you think about it, it doesn't do the, oh my God, that
Well,
horrible thing.
there's things though that can be so deep that
Oh no, I
and
know,
I
I
can just
know.
a quick story, I can joke. There's things that you don't even know that affected you. I have a funny story. My friends who did
Sure.
an RTT session on me, and something came up about self-worth and all that stuff. A vision of me as a child at the cottage with my sisters. I'm the youngest, and had these
Okay.
buckets, and those white cray or crawfish. Well, we used to
Yes.
collect those, and
Okay.
I remember this myself, Melissa. Yeah, I never could catch one, but I didn't remember that until this memory came back in the session. But oh yeah, I remember I couldn't catch these babies, and that was part of why my self-worth came back, because I could never catch a bloody crayfish like my sisters could. Even my cousins,
Okay.
everybody could catch them, but I couldn't. But I didn't know until probably 2 years ago that was part of my self-worth programming, because I
Okay.
could not successfully catch crawfish in a bucket. So see, it could be something
Right.
big, a big trauma, to something little,
Right.
like it gets
Well,
stored in your subconscious, and
you
it's
know what?
effective.
This is the thing though. When that happened to you, you were a child. We see it as an adult, that and you're like, oh, that's not a big deal. But for a child,
It's
in that
huge.
moment, that was a big deal, because you're you're in a group, like a competition kind of thing. So
Yep.
to you, it would the importance was tremendously more than an adult that might have been looking at and going, who cares? Don't worry about it. It's like, oh,
I You got
yeah,
it. And the good news is that with these sessions, this was a bit different than regular hypnosis, because the RTT, Mercer Pierce program, my friend did. But you go in and you can shift the programming and talk about, like, forgive yourself, and have those words from the
sure.
practitioner reminding you that you were a kid. It wasn't your fault.
Mhm.
You didn't know, but like those healing words to bring you clarity and
Yeah,
healing that you didn't receive as a kid, because no one went back as a kid. People would laugh at you, do this or that and the other, and sisters or
yeah,
cousins, and
sure.
now we understand our human emotions is what affects us.
Right,
How we grow, we form these beliefs, and that's how we form our true selves. And then the
sure.
good news is that healing is possible with time, and these sessions. Healing is and I teach meditation, so I go in a bit differently. But
Hmm.
it's all like using hypnosis. So it's whether I'm helping someone to go through this themselves, or when other people, they vision themselves. So it's incredible. It's all
Well, yeah, and
possible.
you mentioned something which I found a lot of times, even people that are not aware of it, is self forgiveness. Sometimes people are
Yeah.
very hard on
Mm,
themselves, and they carry that around, like they don't think about it, but it's there. It's there.
yeah,
That they never let themselves, like maybe they did something, who knows? Maybe we all make mistakes. Some are
right.
worse than others, but
Yep.
they never let themselves off the hook. And there's a point where you got to let that go. And if not, you can't move forward a lot of times, depending on what happened. So yeah, I know that's
And
very
you nailed
important.
it. Yeah, this is
Okay.
what's coming
Well,
to
I need to get
healing.
going soon, guys. Yes, so I'm sorry, but
Okay.
I've got another class coming up.
Okay, okay, no, don't worry.
But
Thank you.
Melissa, you could stick around. So
No, no,
just
no, it's okay.
we
Don't
just
worry about it.
we just
Don't
want to
worry.
let people know that this conference is
I'm gonna
for
put a link to and the credits of the show,
we want
James,
we
for you.
want to activate people. We want to help them get their memories back. We want people who think they're super soldiers or secret space program veterans to come get some healing. Um, and we set the price available.
But basically, from what you told me, you're reaching the limit there. So double quick time. If you go on it, you better go over there quick.
yeah, go sign up.
Your
Make sure you
tickets.
get registered.
Yeah.
And join us. So that's supersoldiercon.com. We'd love to see you. Come on out to Orlando this October 8th to the 12th. And yeah, I'll go ahead and release the mic to
Melissa,
that.
it was a pleasure to
Pick you
meet
up.
you. I want to wish you the best of luck. I'll be keeping up, and you,
Thank you. Yes.
yeah,
I'll be
and
excited. I'll be
I
doing some
hope it
channeling
sounds like
there
it's
too.
going to be great.
Yep. I can't wait.
Take care.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
All right.
Bye
See you
bye.
guys later.
There you go. And I know he had told me he's been super busy. I know that. Let me tell you something. Sometimes it get even crazy, even when you're just organizing a party, a kids party. So I can imagine, yeah. So and how's this? When you put one of these events together, you're always hoping that it's going to be well attended and it's a success. But the flip side of that is that then the pressure is on to make sure that everything goes off. Whether it's and it's a 4-day event from what I understand. So yeah. So in other words, you better do what you need to do so that when people go there, everything works. Everything is supposed to be where it's supposed to be, and the people, your speakers. It's yeah, it's quite a task. And you know what? There's always, like all things, always at the last minute, there's something that goes sideways, and you got to run around and take care of it. So yeah, that's why people, you got to think good and hard. It's like successful. Like, yes, it's great because he was telling me that he had to, I think, cut off like prepaid certain things for prepaid because they were already full. Like, in other words, unless it was somebody that came in at the last minute, they would accommodate them. But yeah, that kind of deal, which is great. It's fantastic because that means they're going to have people showing up. But yeah, you want people to, how's this? This is the kind of thing that when people go, you're thinking as they're going out, they're saying, you're going to have this again next year, right? So we can come back, which is what you want, for this con to be so successful that, and as a matter of fact, usually the more successful it is, the more it grows on the succeeding years. Because I'll be honest, I know that the COVID thing put a kibosh on all these cons, the different comic cons, horror cons, you name it. It just, and I know some of them because I would go out to some of them. Some of them never came back. Some of them did. They did come back, but I want to say some of them started coming back maybe 2 years ago, 1 year ago, and some of them just never came back from it. And do you have a good time at those cons? I did. I thought it was great. Regardless of whatever the theme was. Um, so yeah, the like I said, whenever, as a matter of fact, when you find one of these cons that's really good, you're like, man, I'm gonna come back next year. Like, people start planning to return a year before. Because, like, in other words, they want to make sure that on the date, like, when are you going to have it? Let us know. They want to get on your mailing list so that you keep them updated. Like, hey, we're going to have this. This is the weekend that we're going to have it, and this is the location. And let me tell you, there's a lot of cons that have been around for years that basically that's why they exist, or that they're able to survive. Let's say, like what happened with the COVID, they're able to survive it because people is like, no, man, that it's worth the money to go there because you have such a good time. They have good vendors. They have good speakers. So let me tell you something. That's another thing. You go to a lot of cons and they have speakers, but then they have, a lot of like guests that are like stars, from older shows like Star Trek or different ones. In other words, you go there and you get to take a picture, but that's not for everybody. What people like is like, I can go and listen to a speaker about something besides the vendors. I can go to a speaker in this case, yeah, it's like, yeah, you could see a star and look at him and go, yeah, that's the person that 20 years ago played that part of whatever. And if you want to dish out the money, you could get an autographed pic. But at least for me personally, what I really like was that you have good vendors and that you have good speakers, and you run around and you go to the vendors and you hang out and you network. and then you go off and you go, oh my God, it's time for this speaker. Let me go off and listen to the speaker. That's what I thought. That's what I liked about a good con. And again, once I discovered there was good ones and they were well run, and I made sure that I would come back. I made sure that that weekend or whatever it was, I was available for it. So anyway, getting back to what originally I had asked um, James about, which was because I went on his website and he interviewed Jimmy Paine. It just so happens that that location that he's talking about, Rainbow Springs, is very close to where I live. And I was like, I'd never heard of this. What? Jeepers Creepers? The Jeeper creature close to my. That's why I asked him specifically about it. That basically what he's describing, it's like a time travel creature, all right, and that from what he says, what I read and what he described, that this thing is laying dormant in a lime. Because by the way, a lot of the caverns out here, they are limestone. Beneath, in one of these limestone caverns, it was dormant until 1972. Which, if anybody's that's seen Jeepers Creepers, knows that part of the storyline, as far as the Hollywood version, was this thing would go dormant for, what was it, 21 years, something like that. 21 years, and then it would come back up and go on a killing spree. Right. And this is what's one of the things that, if you remember the first Jeepers Creepers, you were thinking, was this something demonic? But then as the other movies come out, you always get the feeling that no, that this thing was extraterrestrial, but you're like, well, what is it? Is it, some people were saying no, that, and again, it depends. The feeling I got was that that the way the direction that they were going in with it was an extraterrestrial kind of thing that had just, for some reason, decides that it wants to, like, here, let me see, like, just kill everything that it can. Or but see, that's one of the things that you could, when you look at the Jeepers Creepers movies, it wants to, like, it's killing these people, and it says, oh, and uh, it picks certain people based on their scent. All right, like there was something about certain. Here's that. That was one of them. Like, in other words, it picks certain victims based on a certain scent they have, and that's why when it hones in on you, it's going to catch you wherever you're at, whatever. Okay, but you never really understand, was it just because it wanted to kill for the sake of killing, or what was it that was driving it? But anyway, I never knew that this thing was, like, basically, as far as Jimmy Paine is concerned, his story is that this thing is like in my backyard. And that this storyline was, I don't know if it was given or sold or what, as far as, and which is why I was asking him, how much of these stories that we see in Hollywood are channeled or given or sold to these producers or writers, and then, of course, or the studio, you know, and then they're produced, and of course they're so way out there that you're thinking, man, somebody has great imagination. What a great sci-fi slash horror movie or whatever. That's way, way out there. Because it's so out of the norm that this could not possibly have anything to do with our reality, even a hidden reality. How's that? So yeah, I gotta look deeper into this whole idea of, and also, of course, uh, you know, a- anomalies like he was talking about, as far as what's at the Bermuda, or what they call the Devil's Triangle, which is, one of the points here is Miami, which a lot of people, I've heard and read of pilots and other boaters or people that they haven't gotten lost, but they have said, hey, all my instrumentation, including my compass, everything just went wild. They went all of a sudden. I couldn't. If I was going to, which when you believe me, when you're out in the middle of the sea and you have no landmark to go by, you're depending on these instruments, at the very least, a compass, something to know which direction to go in. And they've said no. A lot of this stuff was like went wacko. Nothing was working, or if it was working, it was not working right. All right. So, is there some type of magnetic whatever there that does this and it activates every once in a while? Right? I mean, it could be a whole host of things. Uh, and I believe there is also a triangle off the coast of Japan. Okay, that that is a matter of fact. In other words, if you could, if you went through the middle of the Earth, let's say from the Bermuda Triangle, if you went right through the Earth across the planet, this area it's the same exact triangulation, like but linear. It's the same thing, and they call it the Devil's Sea or the Devil's Triangle, something like, or the Japanese Bermuda Triangle. And let me see, it's saying here the triangle, the points are or it's called the Formosa Triangle or the Pacific Bermuda Triangle. Okay, and it's south of Tokyo. It's same thing. The ships disappear, paranormal activity, blah 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 blah. But I'm trying to see what is the points. The okay. How's the Devil's Triangle in August? Okay, what missing? Same thing. They've got missing planes or ships. And by the way, in the open ocean, it does happen. You things, but I guess the question has always been just like in the Bermuda Triangle that they never discover, either they don't discover the wreck or they don't even discover flotsam, anything that's floating that comes off these ships or nothing. Either if they send a rescue out right away, they don't find any oil spills, they don't find any floating wreckage. And even after, let's say, days or maybe weeks, that sometimes you say, well, some of this stuff will drift on shore. Nothing ever comes up. Nothing ever drifts on shore like a wreckage, like, oh, we picked up this whatever. Nope, nothing. Let me see. Yeah, all right. Also known. Yeah, but what is this? Let's see. Okay, yeah, the points are basically north of Tokyo. It's got the degrees and a little bit off the side of the coast of into the ocean. Like if you draw a straight line, it's very sharp triangle down. All right, into in the middle of the Pacific. I think it's the Pacific. I don't know if it's the China Sea. Um, yeah, it's part of the point is, I want to say west of Guam, but not close, not very. What it skims by is the Ogasawara Islands. It's like one of the lines goes by there. Let me see if I can get this up. Right. And again, ships, you could lose a ship. It happens. Even if there's no hurricane or cyclone or whatever, sometimes I've heard that they have something called rogue waves, things of this nature, where they just unexpectedly something happens and here we go. Dragon's Triangle. Let's see. This is what that looks like. That's the map. And from what I understand, this is in direct line from the Bermuda Triangle, but on the other side of the world. On the other side of the world. So again, are we talking portals? Is it just an anomaly, part of the Earth? In other words, nothing mystical, nothing strange, nothing weird. Yeah. Is there something magnetic that throws? Um, and then this is the thing. You have to look back. How far back did ships go missing? Because, the less instruments or electronics are on a ship as far as for guidance, that you say, okay, if it's not electronic, like what happened that this ship just disappeared? As a matter of fact, right now, recently, this thing about Amelia Earhart came up and about her going missing. And, there's always been, all right, she was supposed to land in Howland Island. They heard her, but she just never made it. They heard her on the radio. All right. And there was an airstrip there waiting for her. She never made it. There was always that, yes, that she crashed into the sea or that she crashed into an island. There's also the story that um, that basically her trip was an excuse for the Americans to check out that area as far as, because remember, this is pre-World War II. Uh, find out what was going on with, with Japan and all that stuff. In other words, that her trip was an excuse to spy. How's this? To spy on, under cover of the of her trip. But and that supposedly when she disappeared, she was taken prisoner by the Japanese. That's one of the stories. I'm not saying that that's it. That's one of the stories. As a matter of fact, I recently, okay, as a matter of fact, I asked they're talking about that they were going to release all the files on Amelia Earhart. And I'm thinking, you are? Why would there be a secret file on Amelia Earhart besides her disappearance, obviously? But in other words, what was there not to know? She and Fred Noonan who are coming and they just never made it to the island, and they supposedly, I don't know, ditched their plane in the whatever. But anyway, I had Chat GPT, and by the way, this is an article I wrote, which is on Stranger Than Fiction Stories. If you ever want to read it, it's there. And this was my last entry, which was that I asked Chat GPT to render a version of Amelia Earhart at age of 70. And this is what she would have looked like. By the way, even if she would have lived, obviously this happened over 100 years ago, she would have been dead anyway. But, if you always go on the idea, or by the way, there was another theory that, yes, that this whole thing of that she was like a spy, and this whole idea of the plane going down and everything, but that she came back into the United States and her and Fred Noonan lived under a different identity. How's that? Lived under a different. And by the way, at one point, some writer, I can't remember what his name was saying there's this certain lady that's Amelia Earhart. And guess what? She turned around and sued him, and the books had to be taken off the shelves. But she kept saying, and I don't know the exact why he had decided that she was a an Amelia Earhart. In other words, but the books got taken off the shelf. So yeah, this is 1937 when she got lost. This is like in other words, we already had the war going on in Europe. Everything was going crazy over there in Europe. And yeah. So again, like, why are you going to release the files? Why would there be any hidden files that have to be released? And of all things, Amelia Earhart. And that's why I was talking about at the beginning when I was reading that article about these UFO crash sites, like the one like they're talking about in Canada from 1967. It's like I don't like being a cynic, but I'm being forced to be a cynic, and it's a cynic to whether to believe or not to believe, or like, why now? And it kind of drives you crazy after a little bit, but I guess that makes for an interesting world, if anything else. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna put a link to James Rink's website, and plus he gave it out, where if you want to visit, besides, let's say, if you can't go to his, this con coming up, all right. I do know that he has a regular website. I believe it's supersoldiertalk.com. And yeah, if you just want to like check out his books or any other materials that he has, you can go there. So anyway, guys, I hope you liked this interview. I thought it was super interesting. Because you know what? I'm not saying I'm the kind of person, it's not like whether one thing is true or not, or feasible or possible. Is that more and more, a lot of the things I want to say in the last few years that at one point were considered impossible, like, oh man, that's great imagination. A lot of it, or if not all of it, or a flavor of it, turns out to be true. You're like, are you kidding me? And all this time I was thinking, man, that person's way out there, way out there. So let's see what happens. So anyway, guys, please come back. I have a lot of great guests lined up. Go to erie.news, go to miamighostchronicles.com. Again, I've got links to everything there, everything, all the shows, all the podcasts, all the articles. Sign up for my newsletter on Substack, mppelliser.com. I've got links to everything everywhere. So, and again, I have podcasts and video versions of everything. Wherever you look for MP Pelliser, Stories of the Supernatural, whatever it is that you're looking for, and you're going to find me. And again, thank you for coming back every week and spending some time with me. Till next time.